The folding iPhone is coming, along with big updates to the Mac, iPad, iPhone, and yeah, those Apple glasses, they're real, and they're coming soon as well. What does the next year or so look like for Apple? What are the big products coming after the stuff we already know about, like the iPhone 13, that redesigned MacBook Pro? What is coming next? We actually know more and more about these secret projects that are finally supposed to see the light of day, and there is so much exciting stuff to talk about that we just need to get into it. So these are the 10 biggest Apple products, the most exciting launches happening in the next year or so in 2022 and 2023. So much to talk about that we just need to dive right in. And a big thanks to Brilliant for sponsoring this video. If you sort of closely follow the Apple rumor cycle these days, chances are you know that things are pretty much status quo for this time of year. We know that the iPhone 13 lineup is launching this fall. We know a pretty good amount of info on those phones. We know that that redesigned MacBook Pro is finally supposed to launch sometime this fall as well. But what is coming next? Little is really known about Apple's plans for 2022 or 2023. Or at least that's what we thought, because we're learning more and more about the next big thing from Apple, and a lot of these projects that have been hyped seemingly for years are finally supposed to go next year from concept to reality, and there is a whole lot to look forward to in the Apple universe. Let's just kick it off with what could launch first in the early part of 2022, and that should be the next generation of AirPods Pro. Now, hopefully, as we get into 2022, AirPods 3 finally go from rumor to reality, and those are out and about, and we can finally focus our next big attention on what could be coming next from the next generation of AirPods Pro. And there is a lot we are excited about, but also a lot we don't know at the same time. We hear that Apple is sort of experimenting with a new design for AirPods Pro that could significantly shrink the size of the stem or even eliminate the stem altogether. So you basically have almost like a Samsung bean bud shaped thing that just goes right into your ear. Hopefully it would give you maybe better audio fidelity, better battery life, better noise cancellation. All that stuff is sort of assumed. But we're also hearing that Apple could add some additional health sensors into these new AirPods Pro 2 as well. Now, we don't have clarity on what these sensors could be, what they could measure, or how they would work either in conjunction with the Apple Watch or independently of the Apple Watch, but it looks like Apple is looking to kind of shape up the AirPods to be a new health accessory that should do more than just allow you to play back music and take phone calls, which should be really cool and really exciting to see. Another product set to launch next year is the brand new version of the iPhone SE. And this one is super exciting, but also a little complicated because there are so many theories and rumors on what Apple is planning next for their lowest end iPhone. Some rumors suggest that next year the iPhone SE will receive more of an iterative update, that it'll look more like the same design we have right now, but it would have 5G support, it would have a new processor inside, maybe better battery life, a lot more small internal improvements for basically the same shell on the outside, and still be a great phone for a great value. But other rumors suggest that the iPhone SE is in store for a much bigger upgrade. Basically getting a design similar to the iPhone 11, but you'd have an almost edge-to-edge display with a hole punch notch up at the top. Maybe you'd have Touch ID built into the power button on the side. You'd have 2 cameras on the back. You'd have a new processor, 5G support, potentially a bigger battery as well. There's a lot to get excited about for this lower cost iPhone. The iPhone SE could potentially give us a really good glimpse as to what is coming with the next flagship lineup of iPhones pretty soon, maybe potentially sooner than we get the iPhone 14 in the fall. But again, we're a little split on what we could see and what could be true and what could not be true. Some analysts believe that there is going to be sort of this smaller update that comes next year in 2022, and then 2023 could bring this much bigger upgrade to the iPhone SE. Maybe we'd get the big one next year. We don't really know which direction this is going to go, but keep your eyes peeled for what could be a quite significant upgrade to the iPhone SE as early as just a couple of months from now. And speaking of those flagship iPhones, I know it's a little early, I know, but there is a lot of info we are learning about the iPhone 14 series coming in the fall of 2022. Of course, like everything, take it with a major grain of salt, though it is coming from a fairly accurate source, Ming-Chi Kuo specifically, that tells us that the iPhone 14, at least one model, is expected to have both Face ID and Touch ID in some form on that iPhone. Now, stop me if you've already heard this, because we heard basically these same rumors for the 2021 iPhone, and though it is yet to be confirmed if it's happening or not, there is more and more clarity, at least from Kuo himself, that it looks like it's only going to be a feature on the iPhone 14, that maybe it's not going to happen in time to launch with the iPhone 13, and the iPhone 14 series will be the first one to launch with both Face ID and Touch ID. Again, it's a little unclear if this is going to happen or not, but according to Kuo, it's looking more and more likely it's going to happen in the fall of 2022 and not in 2021. We're also hearing new rumors the iPhone 14 could ditch the notch entirely in favor of a small hole punch at the top of the display. And also, just to give you a little bit more insight, we're hearing that the iPhone 15 could potentially ditch the notch altogether. So looking at 2022 and 2023, some big changes are potentially coming to the iPhone lineup. But the iPhone news does not stop there, because we're hearing more and more information about the folding iPhone, the one that Apple sometimes is working on and is sometimes not working on. They're so hot and cold on it. It looks like it's actually happening, and according to Ming-Chi Kuo, it could launch as early as 2023, and that's supposedly what Apple is aiming towards, at least as of right now. Little is known on specs or what upgrades could be coming to the processor or to the camera or to other parts of the phone, but we are hearing that Apple is working on at least one model that has an 8-inch QHD Plus display. So basically you'd be able to open up this phone with a beautiful large OLED display on the inside, which should be super cool. I know we've talked about this in the past, and it's been so speculated on what Apple would do to make this phone different, what the price would be. Would this replace the 15 Pro Max as the largest one? Would this be like a Pro Max Plus? Would it be a special edition? No one really knows what Apple could do with it. Moving a little bit more back down from concept to reality, let's talk about some big changes coming to the iPad lineup, because many of you who own iPads and are iPad enthusiasts are going to be very happy, because there are some very significant changes coming to basically every iPad model. We are hearing again that this year in 2021, Apple will release a refreshed, redesigned iPad mini with supposedly slim bezels, potentially Face ID or Touch ID, just an all new look, sort of iPad Pro, iPad Air-esque on this smallest Apple tablet, which should be really cool to see, but that is just the beginning of major changes coming to the iPad lineup. New rumors suggest that in 2022, Apple is looking to launch an OLED version of the iPad Air. So we only have LCD and mini LED technology on the iPad Pro, and that's expected to go into next year as well. But even though those technologies are on the Pro, OLED would make its first appearance on the iPad Air, surprisingly, though there are a couple of caveats. It might not be the flexible OLED technology, it'd be more rigid OLED technology, so you potentially could have thicker bezels, but still a higher quality display is coming to the iPad lineup, though the iPad Pro would still supposedly be the only one to retain that ProMotion high refresh rate. And speaking of course of iPad Pros, Apple is expected to give us a glass back on the iPad Pro in 2022, which could potentially give you the option to do regular old wireless charging, so you could basically put your iPad Pro down and wirelessly charge it, though they'd probably be a little slow. And then also, potentially, rumor has it, reverse wireless charging as well, something that has long been rumored to come to the iPhone and supposedly is there, at least in terms of hardware, but is not software unlocked. It looks like Apple could give us reverse wireless charging first and foremost on the iPad Pros for 2022. But it looks like in 2023, the iPad Pro would go to OLED and would still retain the ProMotion display technology as well, so you'd get basically a higher refresh rate OLED display, which should be super cool to see. And also, according to Bloomberg, Apple is also testing larger versions, larger displayed iPad models. Not sure how big Apple could go. Are we talking 16 inches? Are we talking like a 20-inch iPad, 24-inch model? We're not exactly sure on clarity on how big they're looking to go, but Apple is testing larger iPads somewhere in those secretive labs inside of that spaceship in Cupertino. Before we continue, let's take a quick break, and I want to tell you a little bit about one of my favorite services that is also this video's sponsor, and that is Brilliant. Brilliant is a problem-solving based website and app that has over 60 interactive courses in math, science, and computer science. Whether you want to learn the nuances of neural networks or cryptocurrency and blockchain technology behind the scenes and so much more, Brilliant has got you covered with amazing courses that you are going to love. What I really love about Brilliant, what makes them so special, is that these courses are unique, they're exciting, they're just plain fun. These are not your run-of-the-mill average online courses. With Brilliant, you really get to learn by doing and really put the skills that you're learning to practice as you go. Brilliant has a number of fascinating courses, and I also really appreciate that they give you the information during these courses in bite-sized pieces, so you're not overloaded with a bunch of info all at once. Also, I love that I can learn at my own time and at my own pace. So whether I've got 15 minutes or an entire afternoon to devote to a course, I can pick up right where I left off, and just Brilliant makes the entire process so simple and, again, just so fun. So whether you want to dive deep into a particular field or learn something just for fun, Brilliant has got you covered with a number of unique, exciting, and interactive courses I know you guys are going to love. So hit that link down below to learn more, or go to brilliant.org/theapplecircle to sign up for free today. And special deal for you guys, if you go through that link, brilliant.org/theapplecircle, the first 200 people who sign up will get 20% off a premium plan on Brilliant. I love Brilliant. I know you guys are going to love it as well. So hit that link down below to learn more, or go to brilliant.org/theapplecircle. And of course, over the next year or so, as Apple sort of wraps up their transition from Intel over to Apple Silicon, we should get some pretty significant upgrades to the Mac lineup as well. Of course, all eyes are sort of waiting for those new redesigned MacBook Pros, which should be coming this fall. We can also get excited about potentially a redesigned MacBook Air, a more pro-end focused Mac Mini, a larger screened iMac, which hopefully is in the works and is coming soon. And then last but not least, certainly, is the just beastly, balls to the wall, pro-spec Mac Pro. But what potentially is the biggest announcement of all for next year in 2022, fingers crossed it happens, is the debut, finally, of Apple's mixed reality AR/VR headset. Now, to give you a little context, this is the precursor to Apple Glasses or Apple Glass, that sort of really streamlined, seamless sort of AR project that Apple's working on that supposedly should launch in 2023. But before that, we'll get this more niche, higher priced, high-end mixed reality headset that sort of shows off Apple's AR and VR technology and what they've been working all these years on secretly behind the scenes. Now, there is really little we know in terms of specifics, but what we are hearing from analysts and different rumors and stuff like that is that this thing should just be absolutely packed with cutting edge technology, cameras, sensors, a bunch of different things on the outside and the inside that makes this thing absolutely powerful. Rumor has it the processor running this thing is going to be faster than the current M1 processor in the iMac and MacBook Pro, and that it should have basically the ability to map surfaces around you. It'll have an app store, the ability for you to see a virtual world and the augmented world. It's a little sort of crazy and out there on what this could be, but this has been rumored for years at this point, and it's finally supposed to be shown off for real this time and launch next year in 2022, assuming all things are still on track and good to go because of what happened last year in 2020. So that is just the tip of the iceberg of really exciting products set to launch in the next year or so from Apple. We've got new AirPods Pro, we've got new iPhones, we've got folding iPhones, we've got a lot of changes coming to the iPad lineup, new Macs, and so much more, including more work being done on the Apple Car, rumor has it, and other significant changes to other products that we should see coming in the next couple of years. What are your thoughts? What are you most looking forward to in 2022? As 2021 wraps up, are you excited with what Apple has done? Have they made a lot of progress in terms of their transition to Apple Silicon? Are you excited to see what's coming with the iPhone 13? Or are you all focused, looking kind of full steam ahead on what could be coming next year and the year after with some really significant upgrades and some really cool new products? What are your thoughts? Leave them in the comments down below. What is curious to hear what you guys think about all this cool stuff. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. I'm Robert Rosenfeld, and I will see you in the next one.